Howdy, y'all, and welcome to round four of the Wednesday Championship here at Indianapolis in America. I'm joined in the box by Dan, and on broadcast is Stewie, and I'm of course Austin Devonshire. So, I mean, what a racetrack! Last week Monza, amazing. This championship's really been turned on its head. Dan, how are you doing? Where do you stand on all this?
Well, of course, as our lead commentator last week, I can confirm it was a really hectic race. The championship has indeed been completely turned upside down, but it can be turned upside down once more here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Today, we're racing at the road course, the 3.9 kilometer road course, the 2.4 mile road course for your Americans here. It's a legendary track. We just finished practice, and Austin, I think we can expect some great things in qualifying.
Yeah, no, again, yeah, it never disappoints. Obviously, qualifying quite important. You know, the where the cars come kind of like sets them up for both races in these championships. So, in case you don't know the format of these races, if you've not been following along, Wednesday Championship, we actually have two shorter 30-minute races for a race one and a race two, but only one qualifying will count for both races. So getting ahead actually gives you an advantage in both the splits. Badowski currently provisional pole in practice, as to be literally just take over to qualifying. I was actually about to say the Ferrari's looking quite strong here, but looking in the chat as well, it's actually Redford that said the Ferrari's actually okay here now as well. So looks like a lot of love for the Ferrari.
Yeah, and
We might have just lost Dan there a little bit, but it's okay because Adam Carlisle for the AMR Lycan Racing in the 142 about to start the flying lap, and makes you realize just how long this pit exit actually is. It's feels a bit like an eternity, a bit like Spa in a way.
yeah, indeed. And speaking about the Ferraris, I just muted myself, excuse me. In Monza, they were great. Why were they great? Of course, a lot comes down at Monza in straight line speed. And at Indianapolis, it's no different. We have a very long main straight with the flat out last corner, and we have a very long back end straight. Of course, it's still a bit more technical, but I expect the Ferrari and the Ford Mustang, purely because the Mustang has a lot of power and is on home ground, to do well.
No, it's just yeah. I mean, I think the proverbial fans in the crowd will be rooting on for the Mustangs. It does make a lot of sense. Also, Dan, I'm going to call you out here just a little bit, because before we started the stream, we're actually talking about the differences between push to talk and having a mute button, and you were arguing the case for the mute button.
Yes.
How's it working out for you?
It's well, we got off to a rough start here at Indianapolis. It's of course known for push to pass by the IndyCar drivers, but I'll keep the mute button to a minimum here today.
You're all good. You're all good. You know me in the box. I will bully my co-presenters. That's just what I mean. Jesse knows exactly what I'm like. But yeah, no. Again, just whilst cars are just sort of like setting up for an outlap, you know, everyone is just out on an outlap. Only two cars currently in the pits, but they're making the way out now. It's 21 and the 99, and on now ready for the first fly.
Yeah, indeed, down to turn 1 is a very heavy braking zone, but you have to brake really late because you don't want to focus on the exit, but because turn 2 is already an entry, and then you have to take the long way around through turn 2 and the long way around through turn 3. You really need to set yourself here up for turn 4 for the exit, because you have a very long backhand straight after turn 5 and after turn 6, and then we get to the main straight, or to the back straight when we get there. Not that familiar myself with Indianapolis. I haven't really driven it a lot here, but it is a track that brings action. It's known for the action. It can be quite chaotic also in other classes, mainly because of that very hefty turn 1 like we saw in Monza, so we might see some incidents as well. But here we have the Ferrari. Let's see what he can do, but it looks to like a decent lap, a little bit of understeer. And well, what do you expect from the Ferraris here, Austin?
I mean, I expected it to be quick. I mean, Ferraris do seem to be pretty all-round strong car. I mean, we've seen good things from them this championship. In fact, I believe it's Dorber that's actually leading the championship in a Ferrari. But again, it's one of those tracks where it's a bit of a mix-up. You know, the long straights could suit the Mustang. They do seem to be able to kind of pull some out to kind of pull space out in the straights. We've seen how fast they accelerate at least. Maybe top out a bit quick. That's Matt Malcolm coming in with a provisional pole. Grim Lilith beating that time just by a small hair. Adam Carlisle currently setting provisional pole for the silver class as well. Dorber, championship leader, setting a 135.8, beaten by Badalski with a 35.4. Again, I think we're going to be sat shouting a lot of times right now until everyone crosses the line. So, still 10 minutes of qualifying left, so still plenty of time to put a time onto the board.
Yeah, indeed. Funny thing is about Indianapolis, it has 4 corner names, turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's for the oval. The actual infield doesn't have any corner names, which can be quite confusing, but it also can be quite easy on the mouth. Turn 1, 2, 3, 8, and you go on. Rafael Hill here in the Ford performance. Of course, the Ford cars want to do good at their home ground, and with 10 minutes to go, but no Ford in the top 3 currently. It's looking for a difficult race, difficult qualifying at least, but we still have 10 minutes to go. Rafael almost done with his lap. He only has 1 right-hander, 1 left-hander, and then after that 1 right-hander. So can the number 21 Ford Performance pull something out of the bag in this early qualifying stage? Track is really hot, 33 degrees on the track, 28 ambient degree temperature. Rafael for his first lap goes to P2.
Yeah, nothing in it between Raphael and and Dorber at all. Putting that Mustang in second place. Dorber about to cross the line. Will they respond to it? Find out. And yes, that will be provisional pole, but again, only by a hair. So, but I want to go back to what you said, Dan. I think, chat, there's an opportunity here. I think if there's no corner names, we could make some.
Ha! Yes, we
do we trust this task to the internet? I think that might not be the.
It might be a shot too far, Austin.
I trust you guys. I trust you guys. Hi Edio. Yours is a game or IRL? It is a game. It's of course a competizione, but I mean, to be fair, they've done a great job with it, and I understand. You can almost substitute the game for real life as well in a lot of cases, so expect to see very similar style of racing.
And they've come really, really far, ACC, haven't they? I mean, from the start, I think they released in 2017, don't quote me on that. But there was a lot of critics, there was a lot of hype between Kunos. Of course, this is the same game manufacturer as Assetto Corsa, and there were a lot of critics. But since 2019, 2020, COVID period, as Richard Whithall in his full performance goes to 80th place, ACC has really done a comeback in the gaming industry, and we can see it with their SRO World Series, their SRO America and Asia Series, and well, ACC is almost a complete GT3 game this far. But back to qualifying, as we saw Richard Whithall in his full performance car, currently with 7 minutes and 50 seconds to go, puts his car in P18, right behind Peter Varga, a very strong silver contender in the championship, Austin.
No, that's just getting. Speaking of strong contenders in the silver championship, that's Oliver Mulder, that's just on provisional pole for silver split. But again, only a hair in front of Nicole Fox, again in the same class. Howling coming in that 621 Porsche, just a little behind there too, so could be quite close up front, with Grim Lilith kind of sandwiching between Nicole and Howling.
Yeah, indeed. Just a reference from last round ago, the qualifying results for the top 3 were quite tight. They are currently even tighter. The 1, 2, 3, Joey Darber currently 4 tenths behind pole position, followed by Marco Badowski 6 thousandths behind pole position. Last time around, it was Joey Darber in his Ferrari on pole position, who was only 2 thousandths faster than the Italian Luca Falasca. Jordan Daly was just about a tenth slower than pole position, but it's even tighter. Maybe it will get tighter soon. Nicole Fox, currently P2 in silver, just has a few more corners to go to round off another qualifying lap. She was really dominant in Monza. If I recall correctly, indeed she did get pole position by 4 tenths in the silver class. She was quite dominant in race 1, quite dominant in race 2 as well. And then over the line, Nicole Fox in her McLaren seems to almost bail out, does improve and goes to P1. It doesn't improve, excuse me.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she indeed did not improve, Austin.
No, 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 still P2 in class. Howling about to cross the line now, though. Lilith has moved up, so the three silver class cars are together.
Oh,
As I say that, as I live and breathe. That's Howling with a 6-2 and the 621 Porsche going official pole in silver class and jumping in Mulder by 3 different cars by Edwards, Lilith, and Dalton, separating them up to P5 overall. So huge jump.
yeah, indeed. I expected some, because Indianapolis is technical track. I did expect some room between silver and pro class, but Howling doubting me and proving me wrong. He's currently only 3 tenths, 4 tenths just about behind pole position and right up there with the pro class, Austin.
No, that's just that's rapid. That could be a spanner in the works for when the races do actually start. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. There's still 5 minutes of qualifying left. Peter Varga going onto the banking now. Onto the final little chicane. Talk about the final little chicane. Kevin Boss in the chat with T1 is Howdy corner. Third to last is the. Was there a brake marker here? There was a brake marker here corner.
Yeah. You have to love it. Luckily, we haven't gotten all corners named, so quite a few still need to be named. Peter Varga doing well currently in the championship and not improving on this time. But the gap is extremely close, ladies and gentlemen. P19 only separated 1.5 seconds off P1 here at Indianapolis.
Let's not ignore that Aston that was just in the wall there, doing the full Ralph Schumacher. If I do remember back when Formula One did used to race here, it was Ralph Schumacher that had a fairly big hit in that corner. That's obviously back when the law for this track was where certain tire manufacturers, I think it was the Michelin tires, couldn't actually run correctly or safely
Yes.
without rupturing the tires. So massive controversial race here in real life, but luckily we don't have to deal with that in the sim. But
Oh.
a little bit of track history, I like it.
Yeah, of course, and it's apart from the controversial races, it does stay a great track, not only on the infield but also on the oval. We've just raced in the Indy 500. We'll maybe talk more about it later. That Edwards now in his Ford Mustang doing really well currently in qualifying. He didn't seem to get quite on the pace last time around. Had some incidents in race 2, a very big incident. I did get penalty points awarded, currently 6 penalty points in one race. That's almost a race ban, but that Edwards is still here, currently driving in P8, only 5 tenths of pole position and currently having a really nice slipstream of a car ahead. That car ahead is currently P19, Peter Lundqvist in the bright yellow Lamborghini. He's doing quite alright for himself, not really any changes here. He qualified P19 last time around in Monza, so he probably hopes to improve, but with a Ford Mustang like that Edwards behind you as he bails out, it's not that easy, Austin.
No, and to be fair though as well, qualifying doesn't tell the whole story. What we've seen in a lot of these races so far this season is that with having 2 shorter races per week, you tend to have a crazy race and a calm race, and there's no particular order in which that actually happens. So, if I'm sort of like the silver class a little bit more towards the back of the field a little bit, I'm just gonna play my time. I'm just gonna see how the cars around me go and just go from there. So qualifying is important. As talking about qualifying being important, Badowski going in pole position,
Wow.
2 tenths ahead of Raffaello. Raffaello already set a time, and the Ferrari of Badowski going just that. I said just a little bit quicker. It's almost a quarter of a second down.
Indeed, and 1 minute and 50 minutes to go. Track is improving. Matt Malcolm is trying to get a great qualifying lap in here. He disconnected, if I'm not wrong, or he had a wheel issue, or no, actually a PC issue, a hardware issue in his PC last time around, so he had to forfeit in race 2. Maybe he can get a better result this time, of course, if his hardware keeps his PC alive. And currently P14 on track, P11 now the Scotsman improves just slightly.
That slight improvements to catch them up to like on the midfield of the pro class, which would be good for them as well. It gives them a good solid ground to actually fight, but don't discount Mulder and Fox in the silver class because again, we've seen huge battles between the two of them throughout this season, and they're both rapid. So that could be very interesting for Malcolm from where they're sat. Looking at things as well, it's another situation where like the first like top 11, top 12 cars are separated by just within a second. So again, it's looking like it's gonna be very close at the top.
Yeah, it is truly a competitive field. P20 only
Dan,
1.5.
Dan, sorry to interrupt. I've just seen the timing sheet. Rafael Kuhl actually
Wow.
still in second place, but dead heat with Badowski with 0.000 on the board. So sorry for interrupting there, Dan. I've never seen that before here at RCI.
This is amazing. Truly a great qualifying battle, but qualifying is not over, and Marco Badowski, as is Hull, currently still on laps, if I am not mistaken. And with well, you can set a lap, especially if you come over the line. But Malcolm can maybe, if he's lucky, set another lap time. You can see Rafael just having a slight moment, and if he probably won't improve, and that's either Marco Badowski on pole or Joey Darber, possibly, but don't discount him yet. Because, well, he can still be on a slight improvement. Anyways, we are still riding on board with the German in the full performance car. He has no TC, which is remarkable for a GT3 car. But now he still has three corners to go. One right-hander, one left-hander, and one final corner, of course, the controversial corner here, as Marco Badowski still hasn't improved. I think he isn't on a lap as well.
Oh.
He is on a lap, but Robert Hull fighting that car. He hasn't backed out yet, so that tells me he might be on an improvement here.
Just not that. You saw the delta at the top screen. That was 0.04 when
Yes.
of a second when they crossed the line, but that's still mega consistent compared to
Yes.
their quick time.
Marco
And
Badowski currently coming over the line in P1. Can he improve on his time? If he doesn't, it's still pole position, and he does just slightly, Austin.
that's just it. And I mean, again, that was in chat. Yeah, no, Badowski. Yeah, just a little bit faster than before, but still pretty much almost a dead heat to Raphael. Just wanted to push it just a little bit more. Dalton crossing the line now. Where will this put them? P6 overall, half a second behind Badowski. But still, that's actually howling as well for pole position for the silver class.
Yeah, indeed. It's a great qualifying battle here. Currently howling on pole position. Nicole Fox, so dominant last time around. Right now, she's not even on pole position. She's currently in P2. Mulder, who was in P1, provisional P1 at the start of qualifying, in P3. But we can see just how great that lap of Marco Badowski was and how great the lap of Robert Hull was. Two purple sectors for Badowski, not even a purple sector for Hull, but a purple sector for Joey Darber. That's your top three in qualifying. Like we said at the beginning of qualifying, Ferrari looked strong, Ford looked strong. This whole top five and Ferrari in the top five.
That's just it. So your top 10 so far from qualifying is Badowski, Huell, Dauber, Edwards, Mansell, Dalton, Howling, Fox, Lilith, and Mulder. So with that, I mean, yeah, it's up for anyone.
Yeah, it indeed is. And of course, we have two races of 30 minutes. So I think, Austin, we will see some people being aggressive. I think we will probably all see everyone being aggressive purely because there is still a second race to go. And it's only 30 minutes because that's really key that it's such a short race. If you had one race of an or two races of an hour, then you would start to think about tire saving, maybe a little bit of fuel saving. But you can throw that all out of the window and just push on.
That's just it. And with that, let's take a look at the standings. The GT3 Pro Class, Jordan Dauber leads the championship with 257 points, followed by Jordan Daly with 255. Daly is not here this week. I haven't seen their name, so that could also turn the championship on its head just a little bit too. Marco Badowski in P3 with 230 points. Raphael Huell currently second place on the grid for today's races, 205 points. Fifth place, Nico Kuzma. Sixth place, John Dalton. Seventh, Tom Shipston. Eighth is Ben Rees. Ninth is Richard Whittle. And rounding up the top 10 with 131 points is Ted Edwards. Following Ted Edwards, you got in P11, you've got Grim Lilith. P12, Carlos Calatayud. 13th is Jan Manso. 14th is Mike Redford. 15th is Matt Malcolm. And everybody else with a dash next to the name has, in fact, signed out of the championship.
As it is close in the Pro Championship, it is as close in the Silver Championship. Only 2 points separate Ollie Mulder of Nicola Fox. Peter Varga in third place, currently with 218 points. Followed by the Portuguese Bruno Teixeira in his McLaren in P4. Jake Howling in P5 in his Porsche 992 GT3R. Martin Foster slots in P6 with 168 points, followed by the Swedish driver Peter Lundqvist, followed by Trevor Byfoot, followed by Englishman Jordan Bobbins, and Keith Whiffle rounds off the top 10. Then in P11 we have the American Cormac Malloy with 88 points. 4 points behind him is Adam Carlisle, the Dutch driver Ibiza racer, currently in 28 points. Then Daniel Bouchard, the Canadian, with 25 points. Louis Villemas, Arjen Laurent de Jong have yet to score points, and everyone with a dash is signed out of the championship.
Like the name of Chris, last name. That's I think it's when you actually input a name, you've got first name and the last name is actually in the thing. Either that, I would so it's amusing.
Go on.
No, again, this is just the calm before the storm, isn't it, Dan? This is kind of like where we sort of like line up when nobody knows what's about to happen. It's this series has been a new surprise each and every single week, and the best part is we get to do this twice over tonight, as we're looking at the Monkey Racing. I believe this is Dauber's car. On Paul, yes, it is. No, it's Badowski's car. Sorry, Badowski. With Raphael Huell's Mustang just to the right. You see the size difference. Things. The Ferrari is tiny compared to the Mustang. That's going to be so intimidating going down, barreling towards T1.
Yeah, and the Ford Mustang from the front grille, he doesn't look happy as well, and the Ferrari just looks happy. So it's terrifying if you have a Ford Mustang behind you, and there are 1, 2, I think 3 Ford Mustangs in the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. Behind that are 2 Porsches, and behind those 2 Porsches is 1 McLaren. But it's a wide variety of manufacturers here in the Wednesday Sprint Championship Season 1. Of course, we can see a Porsche on our right, and well, of course, we have some McLarens and some Aston Martins in the mix as well. It's amazing to see so many manufacturers, and it's amazing as well because a new manufacturer, I think 3 weeks in now in ATC, maybe just about a month, Austin, is the Ford Mustang.
That's just there. It seems absolutely rapid. I mean, this is the first championship we've had with the Mustang as an inclusion, and it's not disappointed. Nice to see the Astons back on the field as well. Like, I haven't seen any of those for a little while up until this Wednesday championship, but it's always good seeing them, and I think that might be some furry bait. Just a little bit.
it probably is. And well, we can see some please no Pontorino. That's of course that's the quote of Jimmy Broadbent. If you don't know, the Nürburgring 24 hours has happened last weekend. It got cancelled midway because of the fog, and it was an awesome event. Sim racers like Steve Harris Brown, Jimmy Broadbent competed in it as well, which is amazing to see, not only for the sim race community but also for the RCI community, because this just shows, of course, with the social media followage, you can definitely get into real racing as a sim driver. It might take some time, given Jimmy Problem is already in his 30s, but Austin, it is truly possible.
Well, thank you for making me feel a bit younger about myself. That definitely does help. But no, you're entirely right. Going back to what Edgio said in the chat earlier, is this game or real life? It's a game, but there are cases where it can turn into real life as well. I mean, look at James Baldwin, won world's fastest gamer, and then had the opportunity to drive GT3s in real life and compete in the Spa 24 hours. You've got Jan Mardenborough, who went through the GT Academy, and again, now also a GT3 driver, was a works driver for Nissan for a while. I think they still might be. So, yes, no, it might be a game, but it can lead to some careers if you're up to snuff with it. And it all starts with leagues like this as well. And speaking of which, there is a link to the Discord for RCI in the description. Why not join us? Come take if you're watching qualifying, you think you can go faster than these guys, or you want to get involved, come race with us. Sign up sheets are all in the Discord. Just all you gotta do is sign up and get going.
Yes, it is indeed so easy to sign up, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well, and Twitter. We do have some updates from time to time on there as well. What many of you maybe not know, we also have a Twitch channel. I think the third round of the World Tour Championship is coming up on us. It is the 13th of July, is it? No, it's not. It's on the June of 8th. So actually, this weekend is the next round of the World Tour Series in 2024. We have a stat grid, and it is awesome to see. We're not only streaming that on YouTube, but also on Twitch. So if you have 30 seconds, maybe even right now, given we're in the warm-up lap, go ahead on our Twitch channel, book us a follow, and we'll see you there on the June of 8th in Austria.
I couldn't have plugged that better myself. Thank you, Dan. And of course, if you're on YouTube, drop us a like. Drop us the subscribe, hit the bell icon, all the stuff you're used to hearing. But it really does help us out here. So thank you so much. And very short lap. I'm not sure if I can get the partners out just right now, but we will get. I'll find a way of slipping those in later. Don't
Yes.
I have not forgotten. Do not worry. Stewie in our ears actually talking about that 24 hours of Nürburgring. Wasn't it cancelled after 8 hours? It was. It may as well have been the Nürburgring 8 hours and 45 minutes.
Yes. Kind of mid-race, really. If you ever struggle to plug in ads or these little things as a fellow commentator, just listen to the IndyCar Championship. With these American championships, you'll have ads probably every 15 minutes. We just had the Grand Prix in Detroit, which saw, I think, 7 cautions, if not more, and these commentators are really trained to get those advertising.
Capitalism
Yes.
licks its lips, shall we say.
It is indeed. So if you ever need some practice, just go listen to IndyCar commentators.
Nah, it could be fun. I need to go back and do that. Michael Redford, nice try, cameraman. It's on the boot lid. I think we might have found it. As we're lining up, actually now coming onto the banking, I think there's a few more corners before we actually get to go green.
Yes.
No, wait, actually, no. Yeah, no, I'm right. My mind is not deceiving me. We're on the part of the track where I thought we were on. It's, we might be in the box, but we're not infallible. We do sometimes get it wrong. I'm trying to find someone else to blame other than myself, but this is why I'm not a driver and I'm in the box, because I'm really bad at thinking. But no, again, it's man, there's so much potential. There always is with these races, especially these Wednesday Championships, these sprint races. I think are some of my favorite to watch, some of my favorite to bring you, and I'm hoping at least some of the drivers' favorites to actually get stuck in with. So as we're about to go green on the run down to turn 1, Badalski's leading, followed by Raphael Kuhl, followed by, I believe that's Dauber. There we go, there's the green light. That's what we've been waiting for. But on the run down to turn 1, Raphael Kuhl, actually both cars getting a really good getaway, but that Mustang is so quick on the acceleration. Raphael Kuhl actually pulling a little bit of a gap there, but Badalski has the inside line, has to hit the braking zone, and big curb on the inside. Raphael has to give the space. He gets pushed out against Dauber. Dauber looks to take out P2, but take P2, but Raphael doesn't. Actually, no, Dauber does have the inside now, so that is a space lost for Raphael Hill.
Yeah, indeed, the Ford Performance car insanely quick on the straight line, but
Oh, and
the
tangent there.
Ferrari just a little quicker in the corners there. I think we did indeed have some contact, but everyone really survived T1, if I'm not mistaken. Or we
No,
had
no,
a
no, no. T1, sorry, yes, no, you're right. But towards the back of the field, there has just been a bit of an incident.
yes.
I think the 144 and the 11 might have been involved in that.
Yes, I think the Delta here on the left-hand side is a bit confused by what's going on currently, but we do have a nice streamline of cars. And now you're saying the field actually has been split up a little bit, so I don't think we have any idea what scars of that, but the race at the front and in the midfield goes on anyway. We can see Grim Lilith currently in P7 battling both Porsches as he wants to make a move down to the 621 Porsche in one of the last turn, and he makes the move with a little bit of contact, but that's Grim Lilith, the controller driver, currently moving up.
Is Grim still on a controller? I believe they might have switched to a wheel, but
Okay.
they were known in the community for a long time for using a controller of all things, and they were rapid with that too. So, I mean, you give Grim anything, and they'll just find a way to be quick. I mean, that's just Grim doing Grim things.
Yes.
But again, looking at the back of Dalton now, you see the size of that inside curve. If you hit that, that means that you are losing the car. Looking on the onboard for Grim there. Our broadcaster actually backing up apparently Grim on a controller this time round. You can kind of see it with the input, so maybe I was mistaken with that. Again, just goes to show. Actually, I'm going to flip this on its head. I'm going to say it goes to show that if you want to join in on these things and not feel like, if you've got the right equipment or you haven't got a wheel or anything like that, there is more ways to race. It's such an accessible thing to do. Just if you're on the fence about it, just do it.
Yes, indeed, and you might be involved with this lovely action we have right here. Porsche battling Ford, Ford battling Porsche. It's all kicking off here in the top 6, top 7. The Ford Mustang still lead this little group of cars as the leaders have absolutely shot into the distance. A 2-second gap from Gao Menso to Joey Darbe. Marco Badowski is still in the lead in his Ferrari. The Grim Lilith talked about indeed still driving with a controller. Just got past a Porsche last time around in this corner. Oh, that's a touch. I think that's the Porsche of Howling. Yes, that's the Porsche of Howling. Grim Lilith around. We can see a race replay. What's happening here, Austin?
It looks like one of the Porsches from behind might have just snagged them. I think it might have been Howling, but I'm not entirely certain. It's Howling coming in very hot. Yeah, I think... Yeah, if I had to hazard a guess, it looks like Howling was trying to take their regular braking spot. Just getting passed around like a ping pong ball there. But didn't account for Dorber and Lilith just kind of, not Dorber, Dalton and Lilith kind of holding up a little bit there and being a bit slow on the apex, which is unfortunate, but again, that concertina effect, that happens in racing sadly, and the car behind has to be aware of that. So looking at this, another race replay, Ben, this is the lap one, this happened in turn 3, I believe, and it looks like it's Ben Reese, might have just tagged the back of one of the McLarens there and sent it round. That was being Martin Foster, sorry, in the 720. Tom Shipston in the M4 chasing down. That's Howling actually sent towards the back of the field. Took a little bit of a beating actually after that hit, followed by that's Grim Lilith as well. Actually, didn't fare too much better in the end. So, I mean, no live stewarding for this race today, but there will be the opportunity for the drivers to report things at the end, which could affect the final results. So, something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, indeed there will. What is strange is, what I find strange is, as Grim Lilith tries to make a move here at the outside of the McLaren, just touches the grass a little bit, but they keep each other alive, and so does Grim Lilith moving up to P15 after that unfortunate incident. Tom Shipston now, because I wanted to talk about Tom Shipston. He's currently P4 in the championship, and he was really nowhere to find in qualifying, but currently also making his way up just past Joey Howling for P13. That is Joey Howling now trying to fend off the Ferrari of Grim Lilith. Grim Lilith, maybe tensions could be high between these two. So I think Grim Lilith does have some damage. He's just playing around with the rear of that corner and might lose some straight line speed, as well as we can see a train of cars behind Jake Howling. Grim Lilith braking very late, just touching the rear of that Porsche, but they do make it out alive as the track temperature still is on the rise, 34 degrees currently, but it's awesome to see this battle of well, Porsche against Ferrari, Austin.
That's just it. I mean, it's one of those. It feels like an age-old battle with or battles at Le Mans and things like that. But no, it's this isn't Le Mans. This is ACC. This is RCI Wednesday Championship, and it's Grim Lilith and Jake Howling fighting and going side by side. Even though they are in different classes, that has to also be said too. So another point as well. Actually, I haven't brought it up this week on this stream, but you're in silver class. There's no real point in fighting with the pro class because you don't get any extra points for finishing ahead of them. You have to fight, you get points for fighting within your own classes. Lilith really getting to the back end of that 621 Porsche.
Yes.
Really wanting a way around. I don't blame them actually. There's got to be some frustration there with the contact from earlier. I would not blame them. Speaking of frustration, that's Malcolm in the chat as well with a screw that and making contact again in the same corner 2 laps in a row, and it goes to show just how hard these guys are pushing, but at the same time you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, indeed, you have to be careful, and Jake Howling definitely does have some, I think he has some damage on that Porsche, so it's not a really streamlined front end, as Richard Whittle currently in P12, doing great for his terms, trying to overtake Racer in the 801 BMW, but he just can't quite have the legs on that full performance. We can see 2 yellow-ish green Aston Martins battling. That's Ben Rees overtaking Malloy there. And indeed, Cormac Malloy, the only American racing on an American track here today. He's not really finding himself right at home at the top of the leaderboard, but he's sure well doing good for the championship. Cormac Malloy currently in P20, trying to fend off the Swedish driver of Peter Ljungqvist, but oh, he's a massive moment there, Cormac Malloy, and probably gets overtaken by Peter Ljungqvist, Austin.
Yeah, he's gonna have to work hard to earn back those freedom points, but I'm sorry, I had to. I'm sorry. It's you come on, guys. You know me on stream by this point. I like to joke. We have a good time. But no, as you said, very good observation. Actually, only American on the server right now on the American track. Adam Carlisle lining up an overtake on Peter Varga for that will be actually P2 in the silver class. So fighting for podium here actually. That's great work from Carlisle actually. So if you remember, they qualified fairly towards the back of the field, but in all of the carnage of everything that's happened, they've made their way up to P3 over on the heels of P2. Ben Rees looking at lining up an overtake on Byford, trying to pull into the slipstream, but just seeming to be struggling at the back of the pack, and obviously being involved in that incident earlier on with, I think it was Foster in the 44 McLaren, and really has to sort of try and make their way back through the field. Ted Edwards with fastest lap as well, indicated by the purple indicator on the left-hand side of your screen. Radowski still leading the race, pulling a lead on Joe Dorber. Raphael Huell lost P3 to Manso, but Huell in P4. Ed followed closely, followed by Edwards in P5, with Nicole Fox leading the silver class.
It's not something you see very often. Ted Edwards doing a fastest lap in his full performance. You surely didn't see that at Monza, but he currently is driving really well, just in front of John Dalton. So media team here at RCI are doing pretty well in this Wednesday championship. Peter Varga trying to fend off the very quick Aston Martin of Adam Carlisle. Almost too quick. You'd almost say, well, here you go, Adam Carlisle, I'll slot in behind you, and that maybe gives me an opportunity to follow in your slipstream and maybe fend off Richard Whittle behind, because he's trying to line up a move on that Aston Martin. We can see a race replay here. Martin Foster, this is Byford, getting just a little mistake, getting overtaken by Peter Ljungqvist, spinning on the track, and he will lose a lot of positions, Austin.
That's just they pushed a little bit too hard and lost the traction on the grass, and just done around here, especially if you're pushing. Adam Carlisle makes slight contact there with the Peter back at Peter Parker. And
Oh,
well, slight contact on the side of Peter Parker, actually, let me correct myself, and kind of pushing their way through to P2. So I know this is the American track. I know they often say Robbins Racing, but was that a step too far? We might have to find out. Our broadcaster and I is actually early when I said that
oh,
the result of the race could change post race. That is not strictly true. It's actually a point system that's being implemented, and that's
oh.
Ollie Mulder having a bit of a moment. And I believe that was not one of the BMWs that went into the side of them. It was that might have been a Beether Racer actually, or Shipston. It might have been. Was it, actually no, I think it might have been Shipston. Shipston was the blue BMW from last time that I checked. So if I remember my liveries correctly, that was Shipston that just made a slight bit of contact there with Ollie Mulder and pushed them back down the order a little bit. And they were P2 actually in qualifying for the silver class. Peter Parker now under threat from Grim Lilith and two different classes. It makes sense just for Peter just to sort of let Grim through here. Really good opportunity, but that does put another car between themselves and gaining that position back from Carlisle.
Yes, indeed, and this is a tactical chess you have to play when going 200 miles an hour here, and with this GT3 cars, it's really when you're a silver class, do I want to let the faster car behind go, or is it a buffer to my next silver class? How fast am I compare to that pro driver behind? Can I keep him behind, or is it not worth defending? It's all these really fast decisions you have to make as a good silver driver, and this will promote you up to pro class. If you can manage that and people see, well, you're outgrowing silver class, you'll be put in pro class next season. Ali Mulder trying to make a move there on that stick, howling, and through goes that Ben Reeves in his Aston Martin. That is truly a Lewis Hamilton moment right there, overtaking two cars into one. That's a great move by Ben Reeves there in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, you see an opportunity and you take it in situations like that, but maybe a little bit enthusiastic between the two M class cars, and that's Lundqvist as well in that Lamborghini, just kind of lingering in the background, waiting for their own opportunity to get through. On the back of Ben Reese's car now, you see front end of Howling's 911. Yeah, it's been a hectic race up until this point. At least there's not really been a moment to stop. Now that I think about it. It was the Beether Racer side that made contact with Mulder there, but so apologies to Shipston for the misidentification of that M4, but very similar liveries with the blue on there. I think you can see why I got a little bit confused. Raphael Kuhl trying to line up a move on on the Manso, and into turn one, and again you hit the inside curve. How much time it sets you back. That's going to be for Raphael now that you have to sort of plan and move all over again and get it all set up as we come down into, I believe this turn 5, and it's quite slippery on the inside here. It's going to be a little bit careful to lose the car, especially with the traits of the Mustang. We know it's a bit rear end heavy, and we do know, at least from the qualifying laps, that Raphael is running with no traction control. And I have heard Dan, that might actually be the way to drive this Mustang.
Yeah, it might. You have a nice kick at the rear for traction and a nice kick at turning a car as well. So it might be a positive, but maybe for the race you can screw it on 1 TC for a little bit more of stabilization. Who knows? In any case, all the Fords are currently driving 3, 4, 5 in the top 5, and it's Ferrari at the front, and it's all kicking off here again as we switch to the Ford of Raphael Hull again. It's really Ford versus Ferrari. Where have I seen that before? And with 15 minutes to go, it's looking likely Ferrari is also going to win this race, but maybe I've put on a commentator's curse now. Who knows? The gap is 5 seconds, as we can see Peter Lundqvist making some nice moves. The Swedish driver up to P17.
Yeah, and Tedekowitz is also being behind Raphael. Raphael at P3 right now. What car were they facing? Because I look away for a moment and there was a Mustang in front of Raphael. I'm not seeing it on the...
So in our right ear, Stewie Hellman, a broadcaster, is saying he got a disconnect. So that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Man, okay. That's that's a thing. But that will promote Raphael to P3 overall, a bit anticlimactically, if you ask me. Looking to be a really good battle for that final step on the podium. But I mean, for
Yeah,
Raphael, you race, that's racing sometimes.
yeah, it
Um,
it definitely is, and it was a Ford performance car, and there was the car they were just battling right now, and it was João Manso who disconnected. Portuguese was doing really well. The triple to Ferrari. João Manso, the Portuguese, sadly out of this race.
No, I mean, there's still time to join for race 2 as well, so it's not all
Yes.
lost. There's still an opportunity to score points there. And I suppose that's a good thing about having the two-race system as well, even though usually disconnects, they happen. They're not incredibly common, but sadly we're at the mercy of the internet and any of the equipment that we might have. But in a way, that's no different to real racing because cars break
Yes.
down as well. So that's a little bit of a extra excitement factor to it, I guess, from an audience point of view. And Adam Carlisle, a little bit of a truly train going on here, actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
indeed.
I've raced with Carlisle myself in the past, and one thing I can actually praise them for, and I will praise them for it, is their defence is really hard to get through. They're quite consistent, maybe not the fastest driver on the field, but one thing that you can give them credit for is they know how to keep cars behind them. As I say, Whittle finding, is it Whittle? Yes, it is the 957 Mustang, just finding a way around Lilith, also wanting to find a way around as well. And here's the thing, Adam right now is within his rights to actually defend here, because it is for position. He's not blue flagged, he's not being lapped. They're on the same lap as each other, so in a way, for overall position, Adam's allowed to defend this.
Yes, he is definitely allowed to defend this. He decides not to, purely because the cars are faster ahead. And what's really the point if you want to battle faster cars that are behind you? There is no point really, because you're just gonna not only slow yourself down, but also slow each other down, and you will definitely not make any friends on the racetrack. And that's why you need to take in consideration yourself as a silver driver, but also yourself as a pro driver. Because yes, you can say, all right, I'm a silver driver, I can back out. But it's the same for a pro driver. If a pro driver isn't necessarily faster than a silver driver, then you have to get your ego out of the way and maybe say to yourself, all right, it might be better if I just stuck in a slipstream and try to get away with him instead of battling for my ego, as Ibiza Racer needs to defend. That is the Porsche of Howling there. He had an incident earlier on. You can see it at the not so streamlined front end. Ibiza Racer, if I'm not mistaken, currently the highest and only Dutchman, not the only Dutchman in the race, but the highest Dutchman in the race. Tom Shipston currently in P12, trying to overtake, currently in third position in the silver class, Peter Varga in his Ford performance, who is fourth Ford performance on the grid. Oh, that's a mistake there from Peter Varga, and so Tom Shipston goes through. He has the inside of the next corner, so that's a move well done and dusted, Austin.
Well, that's just it, and I mean, Ollie Mulder as well, trying to track down and make up a few more positions before the race end. Only 11 minutes remaining. Badowski taking fastest lap of the race so far. Along the way, somewhere taking that from Ted Edwards. And Mulder making a slight mistake as well, braking a little bit early, has to take evasive action, goes wide, and lets Lundqvist through. And now actually under pressure from Cormac Molloy as well. And that's two Aston Martins following each other down the back straight. And will also concede that position as well, but only just another kind of death curve on the inside there. It reminds me a lot of when we were at Kyalami here earlier in this season, and the inside curb to Cheetah of all places. We talked about kind of how sensitive the cars can be to it, and how you don't want to hit it. And again, that corner there at the end of the back straight, and at turn 1 here at Indianapolis, there are also curbs that you also don't want to hit for very similar reasons. That's Lundqvist off. Ollie Mulder going into the back of Lundqvist, who was rejoining onto the track. That's just unfortunate. That was Keith Whittle as well, having a bit of a moment coming off the track there. That's the 157 silver car, the Mustang. Again, just I mean, even having little moments here at the end of race one. Only 10 minutes to go. We're only 20 minutes in, and that was Martin Foster just having a small moment turning into the inside wall there at turn one.
Yeah, it was very strange. Who we had also lost is the Scotsman Matt Malcolm. Don't know why. Could have been a hardware issue once again, but sad to see the Scotsman in the 199 Ferrari retiring off this race. Could be an incident, could be something else, but I think it's also the only retirement, so that's a good thing. Jake Howling now in the Porsche in the silver class 621 Ferrari, again trying to battle Ibiza Racer in that BMW, and it seems that the race is kind of calming down, Austin.
Well, that's just it. That's kind of what you expect. The driver's trying to find driver's finding a bit of a rhythm at this point. You know, race one. I don't want to say it's all but decided because anything could still happen, but that's just something changes. You know, the tone's been kind of set for the most part, which, I mean, what that means is right now you're planning race two, aren't you? Really? You're a
Yes.
driver and things haven't gone great in race one. At least you've got a chance to kind of redeem yourself here in race two. And again, it's why this format is so exciting, especially with the points layout as well. Holy moly, pulling away from Cormac there. Cormac was getting that inside curb we saw earlier. But again, Lundqvist also pulling a small gap too, so all spacing out a little.
Yeah, indeed. And like you said at the beginning of the stream, and Jesse said it to me last time around as well, you have a calm race and a chaos race. But in Monza, that was definitely not the case. You had two races full of chaos. You had two races full of crashes, a battle for the lead, and crashes again as Cormac Malloy gets spun around by the Disney McLaren of Martin Foster, the number 44 Britishman. Just little touch there at the Aston Martin driven by the American. Yeah, you can see it, little touch at the rear right there, almost basically in sync really, and they go on their way in sync as well. Those incidents happen, currently battling for the wooden spoon, you can say, so they won't lose too much time.
You just said battling for the wooden spoon. That's not a term I've ever heard before.
If I can recall, it is a British term, but don't pin me on that. It's definitely a term used in racing.
I'll take you for it.
I'll Google it.
No, it's just an interesting one. I've just never heard it before. I'm being bullied in the notes. When we're working as a team, I should explain to the audience. We do have like a small chat where we do sort of give each other little bits of information, and usually it's quite pertinent to the race. It's like lap times or deltas or gaps or just kind of like small updates as to what's happening on track. Because sometimes this is why Stewie's on cameras. He does such a great job in that he'll see something before we do. And currently that chat is now being used to bully me, so apparently I've been bullied for never herding racing for the wooden spoon. And that's huge! That's Howling again! That's Howling going into the back of a Ibiza Racer on a corner later than the earlier incident. And again, just getting it slightly wrong, getting a little bit too close, and we've got a race replay of this. There we go, hitting the inside curb. Actually, it looked like Ibiza actually hit the inside curb, lost a bit of time. Howling managed to squeeze up the inside and take it back into the space. But that door was always going to close, so
Yes.
Oh no, it's another late race incident involving that 621 Porsche, and that's actually set them behind not just Ollie Mulder and Cormac Malloy, but Foster as well. So that's not great news for the 621.
No, it definitely isn't, and there was if you stick your nose in there, it was an inevitable incident. I think the gap was indeed always closing, and it wasn't really the corner of Howling to begin with. So, almost unavoidable there for the BMW. Ollie Mulder also battling a BMW. The Britishman currently battling the Dutchman, the BMW against the Aston Martin. And with 5 minutes to go, stakes are running on a high, and time is running out. Spoken about time, who is still in the lead and who we haven't seen a lot this race is German driver Marco Badowski, who has a small lead of 2.6 seconds to Joey Darber. Oli Mulder trying to battling, overtaking Ibiza Racer on the inside of turn 1. He tries to get the move done. He will get the move done. Ibiza Racer currently fading just a little bit behind that Aston Martin. Away, Austin.
I'm just looking at things at the moment in terms of the championship standings, because Podolski's not that far behind Dorber, really. It's like, what is it, 26, 27 points, something like that? And with Daly not being here, and we're only halfway through the season, this championship's getting very, very interesting, and 2.4 seconds might sound like a lot, and to be honest, maybe over half an hour it kind of is, but at the same time, this race has been really hectic. You know, it's still up for anyone, and again, if you're Dorber, take P2 with the first race, that's completely fine. You know, you're making, you know, you've got the championship lead. You know, you can forfeit a few points, but then you just kind of plan your second race. You know where you, at this point in time, you know where you're strong, you know where you're weaker, and you can utilize those strengths to actually be able to plan an attack. That's exactly what Podolski did against Jordan Daly at Kyle Army in round 1. So, Foster lining up an overtake on Cormac, that's a big send, but keeping it clean so far is the car in front has dipped 2 wheels into the grass. I believe that is a Ibiza Racer yet again, and yes, it does look like it. But this Aston and this McLaren going side by side yet again, and Cormac finding a way through.
Yeah, indeed, there was a very nice move, but Martin Foster tries to come back on the Aston Martin once again, coming into turn 1. He wants to take the inside line, faces to the outside line. Who's last on the break? The answer is Martin Foster. Can he stick it round the outside? Oh, that's almost Jake Howling again colliding, but Martin Foster still needs to wait behind Cormac Malloy, but the American going really wide there a few laps ago. Cormac Malloy had an incident there. He has an incident once again, and that's a spin around for Cormac Malloy.
No, that's definitely Cormac coming off worse on that one, and I'm a bit confused as to what actually happened. It looks like they were rubbing side by side. It looked like they were rubbing side by side, but from my angle, it looked like Cormac actually turned into the McLaren. Let's look at this again. So, running wide, yeah, no, okay, it looked like it. Just the McLaren turned in on the Aston, and I think the Aston was trying to open up the corner just a little bit more, and yeah, didn't. Yeah, I think the same thing happened again. Formula One was at Nico Rosberg at Austria one year. Did something very similar where it just looks like they didn't actually turn in, but more than likely just trying to open up the corner and get a little bit of an advantage, but just misjudge the space. But again, that could also be subject to a post-race penalty. Bruno Teixeira, actually a driver we've not actually spoken about too much this stream already. Usually a driver really into the mix of things, very, very consistent, and running just off of the podium in silver class. I know it's pretty spread out over Nicole Fox at P6 and Peter Varga at P13 for the podium, but there's still 1 minute 40 seconds for Teixeira to make a move here, and it looks like Varga might actually even be struggling. So Teixeira, this could be P3 on the cards.
Yes, that old Ford Mustang is really struggling. We know the Ford Mustang has quite a heavy rear end, and it doesn't help your tires. And if you drive it with your traction control off, it definitely doesn't help your rear tires. Bruno Teixeira now in the McLaren. The Portuguese tries to line up a move on Peter Varga. Will he have the legs on the back end straight? That Ford Mustang is really fast, and we can see the Ford Mustang gaining and gaining on the straight, even though that McLaren is in the slipstream. So he has to do it in the corners with 1 minute remaining. So that means after this lap, 1 lap remaining. And so Bruno Teixeira for P13 trying to get the final podium spot in the silver class here. But who is in the lead and who we haven't also talked about really too much is Nicole Fox. She was dominant in Monza, she was dominant in race 2 in Monza, then got a small incident which I think cost her victory in the second race, but currently she is leading as this battle, Austin, still commences.
Oh, that's contact. That was pretty close racing, and it almost bound to happen at some point. That's Varga turned around to Teixeira in the wall for the fight for P3. And also, was that Lundqvist as well? Again, Lundqvist was involved in a very early race incident, I believe. The 99, I believe it was it turn 3, lap 1. They were turned around and sent to the back of the field. and actually now capitalizing, moving up into P4 in class. But here's a replay of what happened between Varga and
Yeah.
Texera, and again, just Mustang turning in, but the McLaren just hanging around on the inside there did have a slight overlap, and that's exactly what just happened. So, all things considered, Marco Badowski coming around the final corner now for the final time. The timer has ticked down to 0.00, and that means that Badowski will be winning the first race tonight here at Indianapolis. There we go. There's the checkered flag, followed by Dorber, and no doubt followed by Raphael Kuhl, who's about to cross the line right now to round out the top three overall, followed by Ted Edwards, John Dalton, and then Nicole Fox. Mike Redford actually as well in the 95, finishing P7 overall, so pretty great result, along with Whittle in P8, Lilith in P9, and Carlisle rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, indeed, a very great win for Marco Badowski. His first win in the Wednesday Sprint Championship Season 1. So he will be delighted by that. In P11, coming home, Tom Shipson, who you could argue was more expected of him. He did a great job in Monza. Ben Rees in the Aston Martin. Not completely clean, but coming home in P12, followed by Peter Varga. P3 in the silver class from Bruno Teixeira, trying everything to overtake
Oh,
Peter Lindqvist on the line on the outside, and he's doing
Ollie
it
as well.
indeed. What a move was that from Bernardo Teixeira. We can have another replay. Yes, on the grass he was to
Oh,
overtake Peter Lundqvist. He might get Lundqvist got lost the rear indeed, and then the Aston Martin almost came knocking at the door of the Swedish driver, but that was an amazing finish for what was ultimately P14. Cormac Molloy, the only American, not finishing incidentally free, and then Trevor Byford rounds off your field for race 1 today.
now I know that we're on an oval, but that was some Disney Pixar cars move right there on the grass. That was incredible.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was.
but no, Marco Badowski winning the first race of two tonight with 19 laps. Closely followed by Dorber, followed by Raphael Kuhl, Ted Edwards in P4, John Dalton P5, and Nicole Fox winning your silver class in at P6 overall as well. So there we go. So of the 12 cars in silver, it's Nicole Fox, Adam Carlisle, and Peter Vargo with your top three. So very action-packed race one. And looking at the chat, there was a few things that we've missed. So for Manzo, only good race in the championship so far and get disconnected. It's unfortunate, that as we said it when it happened, like these mechanical failures, these technical issues do sometimes rear their ugly head, but there's always the second shot as well. Speak of the devil, Jordan Daly in the chat. Wish I had more time. It looks like hectic racing. It's definitely been hectic, and Daly Percy doesn't think there's room for that move. Dorber found it boring. Hope the rest of the race was better. It was hectic, to say the least. Again, there's also race two. And Redford thinking that they looked out so much. So again, with that top 10 finish, you can't sniff your nose up at that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty well. We had some pretty good racing, but we had, in my opinion, we had some awful racing as well. But we're gonna do it all again in race 2, Austin, and I can't wait to commentate that race again.
Yeah, it's round two electric boogaloo, I think, as the kids say. But in the downtime, you know, since I missed a prime opportunity when we're talking about wheels and controllers earlier on with Grimlilith, that I completely forgot to mention. Man, I'm very confused because if you're in the market and to buy a racing wheel, there's this company I've heard of. There's this company I've heard of, Dan. I think they're called Fanatec, and they're one of our partners. And we do have an affiliate link in the description below, so they are worth checking out. Digital Motorsports as well, another one of our partners. They help support us as well. They have the online sim rig builder. So if you want to find something to put that new Fanatec on, go right there and go for it. AKE Spots help keep the lights on as well here at RCI. So huge shout out and thank you to them. We're also missing Go setups as well, and they can help you make the most out of that new swanky new gear that you've just picked up, and Again, they were one of the first setup companies actually to have the setups for the new Mustang. It was fairly new when it was introduced to the season, and I do know that some of the drivers apparently using those setups here as well. We can't forget Driver 61 as well. And again, you might if you don't feel like you're up to scratch, or even if you feel like you could take these guys on, with the driver coaching, you can just eke that little bit more speed out. So again, there's discount codes through RCI for those guys as well. Huge shout out, huge thank you for the support, and thank you to you guys as well.
Yeah, indeed, amazing partners, we call them, of course. Well, we'll be back in a little bit. Race 2 will be shortly starting. But before that, we'll head in for a little bit of a break. We'll see you back at Race 2 in the RCI GT3 Sprint Championship. We'll be back for Race 2.
So a little bit of a fly around here from our broadcaster studio. One of the things we've become known for is a little game of Find Jesse Lee, which is an old tradition here at RCI. Going into peek into the showers, and well, they're disappointing actually. That's not what I expected at all. And Stewie, you can't go in there. Nope, 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 nope. That's okay. That's the stream cancelled. Anyway, guys, whilst we're waiting for race number
Oh,
two,
he's doing it. He's doing it. Oh no, we'll be
oh
getting
my,
cancelled.
oh my gosh, they
Yeah.
have just they've just reversed that. Okay, that's an interesting texture. So I guess we're confused. I don't think you guys can hear Stewie in our ears, but we can hear Stewie. And then when Stewie starts having a conversation with us, it can get very confusing very quickly. A lot of showers here at Indianapolis, and
Yes.
no, we can't go in there, Stewie. Stewie. Whilst Stewie's doing
Yes.
his thing, looking at the chat, there's been a few things during the break. Dealing with Indy isn't easy. No, it is not.
He's this is women of
Stewie,
children. See
you,
this
you
this
guys you guys can't hear Stewie right now, but he is very confused at
yeah.
geometry and
and
signage.
and it's amazing. But indeed, while we're waiting, you may have noticed last week around. It wasn't last week around, was it? The Indy 500 did take place, and it was an awesome event. I don't know if you've watched it, Austin, but I certainly did. But because of the big delay here at Indianapolis, because of the weather and stuff, the stream ended at 2:45 a.m. means I had a very short sleep. Austin, did you had a very short sleep because of it?
Uh, no, I didn't see it sadly.
Oh, that's a shame.
I believe I was actually that weekend. I was actually at a quite a large party. So I probably slept in late with slept in late with not feeling the best, shall we say, a bit under the weather. This is one of the Hall of Fames actually. A really interesting about thing about this game is that it does actually quite accurately model everything in the infield. Um, that's one of the museums actually that's in the middle of Indianapolis, and one of the little convenience stores as well because America. And yet another car park. We actually pointed out in the break that Indianapolis might be one of the only tracks with a car park in the middle of it. So that's something else to bear in mind. Little SRO kind of media stand going on here with one of the hospitality suites. Donington Park actually has those as well in the paddock. Except when I've been down there for British GT in real life, normally just an erected gazebo, like a little plastic tent. Well, under Stratford Street, you've also got the very famous clock tower as well. As we're getting too distracted, formation lab's already happened, and we nearly actually missed green lights. So
Yes, indeed. But you know, Indianapolis might have supermarkets, but you can actually sleep inside the Le Mans circuit. If you, I think, is the Le Mans 24 hours this weekend or next weekend? I have no idea. But the track is so huge, you can sleep in the actual track. I certainly did. I think 2 years ago, I slept in on the inside of the track. I could walk right to the Porsche curse, and it's an insane. It's an insane happening really, because in the 24-hour races, you go to sleep at probably 2 a.m. You wake up at 7 p.m. and the first thing you hear in the morning is LMP2's GT3s roaring down the Mulsanne Straight. If you want to go to Le Mans and camp, do it. It's the best thing in the world as a race fan.
actually sounds amazing. That's all the convincing I needed to go personally. As we're coming around the final corner yet again, same qualifying order as before. So as we said during qualifying, Badowski in the lead, Rafael Huel in P2, Gorba in P3, and Manso Manso
Yeah,
not
he's back.
to be seen.
Oh no.
No,
No, he's
Redford with the drive-through. Manso not back. They did say in the chat, let's hope Vodafone behaves. Might be more net problems. As we're going down to tier 1, that's Dalton taking a look on the inside there. Being squeezed into Ted Edwards a little. Raphael, again, same story as last race. gets the gap off the line, but this time pulling up side by side with Badowski, and Badowski now having the inside with I believe that's also Dalton, not able to really capitalise. But I say that Dalton squeezing up the inside of Raphael, taking the inside line, but still side by side and pushing once again, pushing Raphael Kiel down into P3. Much calmer of a start this time around. No one turned in turn 3. But at the same time, looking at things, the biggest incident that I've seen so far is Redford with that drive-through.
Yeah, indeed, Mike Redford with a drive-through. If you're not familiar with ACC, what has happened with Mike Redford? Now, you can get a little bit of a mistake with your starting position. If you start in front of the car ahead of you, when the lights go out, you'll have a drive-through immediately. Doesn't matter if the car slowed down a bit too much, you just have to keep up. And if you're in front, you'll simply get a drive-through. And ACC is pretty harsh on that method, but we are still racing. 28 minutes to go. Just had to start, and that's Ollie Muller trying to overtake McLaren there, but instead he goes over the curb, loses all sorts of momentum, and that's a collision between the Ford, and it all piles up here, Austin.
No, that's Adam Carlisle hits the brakes and to try and allow the position back through. For the car that they actually made contact with, but then also just caused a bit of a pile up there as well. So quite unfortunate there in terms of everyone losing positions, but at the same time, everyone's bunched together and it's an easy mistake to make. Stewie in our ears again with the note that Manso is actually on the field, but if you rejoin after qualifying, it puts you at the back of the grid. So I do wonder as well if that gap in the field that was occupied by Manso's car, I wonder if that is what's confused the starting system and put Redford into the drive-through. I have heard of like glitches like that happening. I don't know how true that is. Apologies for the yawn. But at the same time, that might be something to bear in mind. It's a little bit hectic at the start of race 2, but we are underway at the moment. So yeah, Redford serves a drive-through, comes out P24 with a mountain to climb. Teixeira making the most of taking chunks out of Lundqvist, whilst also having to go defensive against Cormac yet again, much as the same as last race. But they'll be looking to capitalise on the mistakes that they made as well.
Yeah, indeed, they'll definitely be, and it'll be a great battle in not only the back, not only the midfield, but also in front, as Joey Darber still is 4 tenths away from that P1, but Carl Manso in his full performance forward now trying to battle the McLaren of Martin Foster on the inside, turns the outside. Martin Foster decides not to battle him too harshly, and so that's a Ford performance car gaining a position. Peter Lundqvist, that is a little touch. The 3 cars go off there on the turn for the back straight, that is, or for the main straight, that is, and that was a really weird incident, you could say. Just a full performance car there understeering really and taking Peter Lundqvist with him, and that will probably get revised by the stewards, just like we saw happening in race 1 a lot of time. Grimlelev, the controller driver, finding himself in P5 in his Ferrari, in his rear view mirror, Ted Edwards.
Just that. I mean, again, 2 drivers with everything to race for right now, and Lilith obviously involved in incidents in the last race. Edwards, having a good race 1, but last few, but still with still needs to make up as much as they can this week, make up for a few rough weeks as well. And yes, there's the contact as well between, I believe that's Richard Whittle and Adam Carlisle again. Just a little bit of an overlap. Again, it might be down for protest. There might be penalty points involved, but at the same time, from when we're sat, that looks like Adam Carlisle actually benefited from that contact. Currently running P4 in class behind Ollie Mulder. Cormac Molloy, the only American on the field, chasing down Keith Whittle, who the one that actually got a little bit bullied in that early scuffle. And still only 5 minutes in, Badowski with fastest lap of the race so far. Not that they've had too much competition ahead of them or traffic. Dorber second behind, and Raphael Kiel only 8 tenths behind Dorber as well, so very close at the front.
Yeah, and Mike Bradford had to deal with a spider and so nearly missed the start. That's a creative way of almost missing your start. In any case, we still have, as you say, great battles here, Austin, going on. As I can see, Ben Rice making overtakes in the Aston Martin. Ole Muller currently in the number 28 Aston Martin on the top 10 spot. Ben Rice again in the Aston Martin. Peter Lundqvist losing places, little bit of contact with the Aston Martin of Cormac Malloy. Almost go 3 wider into turn 5. That is Cormac Malloy touching Peter Lundqvist, needing to go wide, avoiding action, and so losing a place to a BMW. That's the Pizza Racer colliding again with Peter Lundqvist, and that allows Cormac Malloy to close up again and almost making a move in that inside turn there. But you know, as Austin said in race 1, rubbing is racing, and it's no different here.
No, that's just it. It's kind of ironic that it's usually the rubbing is racing is a very NASCAR related term, so it's really funny that here at Indianapolis it's been brought up a couple of times now. In the chat, Mr. Rich, looks like Mansour's DC it again. Mansour actually confirming that. That's tough. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to see that. That was a great battle that you were involved in there. So disappointing, but at the same time, look at the positives. You know, you've got the pace to do it. You know, you've taken the fight to the top, and there's no reason why you couldn't do that again. So, as unlucky as it is, look at the positives as always next time.
Indeed he should, as we see some great fighting once again here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ben Rice in the Aston Martin. We almost have a free wide moment there going into turn 1. Ben Rice trying to fend off Keith Whiffle in the fourth car. Keith Whiffle just pulling out of that move. Would he not have, he would have had collided, and that's an incident we have seen a lot here at Indianapolis today. Keith Whiffle a little touch on the grass, so he needs to go wide and gets passed by either son or dad, Richard Whiffle. So these two guys, drivers I should say, are indeed family members. There is a father-son rule here. Which one it is, I have no clue. So it could be son past father, father past son. Who knows? But in any case, it was a nice family gathering here at Indianapolis. Nicole Fox, not your silver class leader. That is Jake Howling, who had some huge incidents last race, but currently he's incident free, and Austin is leading the silver class.
You were saying about the Whiffles, it's a family gathering. I had to call it team orders. But no, you're absolutely correct. Howling currently leading the silver class, keeping themselves clean in the early stages here. So if they are able to keep that up, they could be looking at the race win here, and they'll be looking at making up as many spaces as possible, considering what happened in the last race. So again, Nicole Fox, can they make it a double victory? Let's have to find out. Not too far up the road is Ted Edwards chasing down Grim Lilith, who themselves is not that far behind Dalton. And then there's the fight for the top 3 with Raphael Huel, Dorber and Badowski, but Huel just given the clear air to run ahead. So a second separating the 45 of the 777 Ferraris at the front. And so all the fighting happening here in the midfield. On the back of Jake Howling's car, we see Nicole Fox, who's going to be later on the brakes. And I dare say around here, Dan, that the McLaren and the Porsche fairly equal footing.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting to see. It could also be drivers being fairly equal here. But it's great to see a silver class having a scrap at the top of the leaderboard. Don't forget, these silver drivers are definitely battling with the pros here. Grim Lilith also battling with John Dalton, that is in the Porsche. John Dalton, our own commentator, currently driving in P4, just behind by a pretty huge gap, 3.4 seconds actually, to Hulder in the number 21 fourth. Matt Malcolm had an incident in race 1, that's why he retired. He's now trying to make up some ground here. He is P9, I think he qualified P12, P11, but the Scotsman trying to make the most of that Ferrari in the pro class, trying to overtake Nicolette Fox. She is currently the leader in the silver class, only by 2 points, so there is still a lot to gain and a lot to lose, Austin.
That is true. Yeah, and already 10 minutes down into the race, of course. So, no, Teixeira looking to make up for the lost time in the closing stage of that last race, was almost on for a podium, but that's Howling falling down the field, and as Porsche things happen, that's just it, and losing it. I believe that's at turn 3. Yeah, no, they just sort of mismanaged the weight transfer of the car. The work of the Porsche is actually one of its weaknesses. You know, the engine is kind of right at the back over the rear axles. It's a characteristic of the 911. And in some cases, it's amazing, because what it means is that the driven wheels have so much weight put over them that it's really hard to make the back end lose traction. But the problem with having the weight so set to the back of the car is that when the traction does go, you've got this massive weight at the back of the car acting like a pendulum, which is exactly what's happened to Howling here. He's lost the traction at the back end of the car, the weight of the car has pulled himself around, and it's a fairly seemingly innocent spin, but that has set them down the order. They were leading silver class, but they're currently now sat in P4 in class and P11 overall, behind Adam Carlisle. But Carlisle on the podium yet again for a second time round.
Yeah, indeed, Carlisle doing a pretty, well, doing an amazing job here for the Aston Martin. He's not the fastest Aston Martin, because Mulder, the Britishman, is currently the fastest Aston Martin on track. He beats a racer trying to overtake a fellow Ford car, but they have Swedish driver Peter Lundqvist going through the grass there and not gaining any time compared to these two. But a Ford in a Ford slipstream, that can only mean one thing: a braking battle, as we see here too, between an Aston Martin and a McLaren. Ben Rees overtaking Martin, no, that is Bernardo Teixeira for P14. He beats a racer overtaking Keith Whiffall for P19, and that's the both Whiffalls split up.
That's just it. Raphael Yeah, well, John Dalton and Grim Lilith again fighting, coming into the final sector now, and that will be Lilith squeezing ahead of Dalton just a little bit and having the inside line for the next 2 quarters, so no doubt managing to make that move done. But waiting in the wings right at the back there is Ted Edwards.
Yeah, indeed, but as the fight continues here for John Dalton and Grim Lilith, and who's also joined, Ted Edwards. If maybe Stewie can, our broadcaster can tell us, but I think he did have the fastest lap last time around. Don't know if it stayed with Ted Edwards, but he didn't. So no clue who had the fastest lap, but Ted Edwards is certainly a fast driver. Marco Badowski, the winner, got the fastest lap last time around, last race, and Ben Rees now trying to overtake a not so streamlined front end of that Ford. Peter Varga currently in silver class. Peter Varga is currently P6 if my maths is correct in silver class, and so Ben Rees is trying to overtake him almost even before turn 1, and he has, purely because that Ford car is so slow on a straight line, and now Peter Varga needs to fend off Bernardo Teixeira, but Bernardo Teixeira gets squeezed twice, and so he has to slot in behind Peter Varga.
That's just it, and yeah, I mean, it's quite hectic, especially at the front and in the fight for the midfield for the silver class as well. So Ted Edwards looking at making up that space, but talking about Badowski being quick, it just needs to be you show Badowski clear out up front, and they'll just run with it. So quite calculated in the sense, but calculated in the sense of all they need to do is just drive, really.
Yeah.
But for Raphael and for Badowski, it's great news, because they are 20 odd points behind the championship leader, that is Dorber. Dorber's still getting a good haul of points as well, which is going to help their championship hopes. Only about halfway through the season, well, and Raphael currently sat P4 in the championship, but is it P4? No, P5 in the championship. Wait, no, down
yes,
I'm P4 in the championship, but again, not by an awful lot. So currently holding fastest lap of the race, running on the podium. Look at how good for Raphael.
Yeah, indeed. He didn't have the best. Oh, he did sign out last race. Excuse me. He did have a decent round two. He got P4 overall in round two, and in round one he got P3 overall. As we can see, Richard Whiffle trying to overtake Peter Varga. Peter Varga a damaged front and almost letting him by, it seems, and Bernardo Teixeira trying to almost outbreak the Ford ahead, but he needs to take some avoiding action. In any case, Rafael Hull indeed got some nice results in round one, two, not three because he signed out, but he's doing a stellar job right now and he could even get a better result. Currently, we've only seen P1, P2 in Indianapolis for Ferrari, but that can all change if Rafael decides to get him into the mix with Joey Darber, currently 4 tenths behind Joey Darber in the 777 Ferrari. But he has slipstream, and we know that Ford Performance is a rocket ship in a straight line. As you can see, Joe Darber is really worried because he's trying to take an avoided action line to not let that Ford Performance car get the ultimate slipstream. But for now, Rafael stays behind.
That's for now, though. I mean, looking at the gap, it's still only half a second, and as you say, we know what the acceleration is like on the. We know what the acceleration is like on that Ford. So, yeah, no, definitely a risk to the old Ferrari top two at the very least. Keith Whittle and Ibiza Racer having a bit of a scrap there towards the end. Actually, it's Keith Whittle actually making it past there according to the timesheet at the bottom. Whittle was P20, Ibiza was P19, so Whittle making that move up to P19. There we go, there's the switch as we cross the line. And closely followed behind, that's Lundqvist again. And Cormac Malloy going side by side with Lundqvist into turn one. And it's the Ferrari, it's not going to get space, but that doesn't really matter since Ibiza is taking that inside curve, finding another way around with a little bit of contact. And Cormac also finding a way around that Lamborghini as well as Lundqvist.
Yeah, indeed, Cormac Malloy here. As we see the move again, just a little, you could call it a loft tap on the side of the Swedish driver's car. But yeah, it's a move well done. But Cormac Malloy just not really finding the better pace in his Aston Martin as he again overtakes Peter Lundqvist. John Dalton currently in P5 in his Porsche seems to be consistent running around P5. I think he did drive in, yeah, he definitely did drive in top for a while ago, I think at the beginning of the race, but he's trying to get that fourth place back. Compared to Graham Lilith, of course, a controller driver, and yeah, John Dalton just not quite having the legs on that Porsche to battle that Ferrari on this straight. Cormac Malloy in the Aston Martin trying to battle the Ford Performance car. Cormac Malloy just overtook Peter Lundqvist. Can he do it once more? We can find out if we start another lap. Track temperature is rising a lot. When we started the stream, it was 32 degrees. It's now 36 degrees, and that does have an impact on grip levels. It certainly had an impact on the exit of the last turn for Cormac Malloy because he will not be able to battle the car in front.
I wasn't looking at Malloy today, I was looking at Lundqvist. The Lamborghini, once again, final corner, that back end stepped out yet again as you run about grip levels. So, definitely feeling the heat now at this point in the race. I wouldn't be surprised to find that's another contributing factor to Howling's spin earlier on in race 2. Got a fuel pulling up right to the back of pulling up right to the back of Dorber there. And this is where the Mustang's going to have its best opportunity on this run down to the run down to turn one. It's a heavy braking spot, and it's an opportunity to kind of pull up alongside. And here we are with the slipstream. You see the gap just shrink. It goes to the inside, gets squeezed, gets the inside wall, has to go to the outside. And again, overtaking itself to the outside with contact, with contact, bit of a door up. But that also puts Raphael at a disadvantage because not having that inside line through for turns 1 and 2. So falling back yet again, with 10 minutes of the race remaining, but P2 potentially on the cards.
Yeah, indeed, we have a lovely battle for top 5 spots here. Raphael Hull and Joe Darby for P2 and P3. Grim Lilith and John Dalton for P4 and 5. And maybe Ted Edwards can join as well for P6 in his number 8 Ford. But John Dalton trying currently everything to overtake Grim Lilith on the brakes, deep on the brakes. And so you will lose a little bit of exit. That is the rule in racing. Are you a bit deep on the brakes, you will lose a bit of exit speed unless you're called Max Verstappen and can almost lap the field in Formula 1. But we go back to RCI here. Grim Lilith does have the legs on that Ferrari. It seems that Porsche just does not have the best straight line speed, at least not in my eyes, but it does come back on the cornering ability, and that's where the Ford performance car lacks it a little bit. But maybe if John Dalton is close enough, he can line up a move. The clock is ticking though, 9 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, and so there is indeed room for some overtaking, but the time is narrowing down as Ollie Muller probably sees that and trying to make a move on Scotsman Matt Malcolm.
I was going to say, with in regards to being on the brakes, did you know, Dan, that there is another parking lot on the racetrack?
I did not.
It's called the Apex, and it can be used to great effect. Raphael Hill eating that curb at turn 1. We've spoken about some cars, we've seen some cars get eaten by it, but that, again, a trait of that Mustang is that it just looks at that curb and then the curb runs away in fear, basically, rather than the opposite way around. It's a really, the Mustang's so strong in that regard, in that you can be a bit less hesitant to kind of cut the apex a little bit, and Raphael getting that spot on, but still 4/10 behind Dorber. So 8 minutes of the race remaining, still to find a way around. And speaking of which, Dalton trying to find a way around the 115 Ferrari of Grim Lilith, with Ted Edwards in the background, Trevor Byford, and I believe this is Peter Varga. Yes, it is. Having a bit of a scrap towards the back of the field now for P17 and 18 respectively. And Varga holding on to that position. Edwards going quite slow there. Is something happening?
Yeah, he did get quite slow, and there might have been a touche as we see a race replay here. John Dalton compared to Ted Edwards. Ted Edwards launching one up the inside of John Dalton, and that was too much asked because there was a little bit of contact that Edwards couldn't quite slow it down, and now John Dalton has to do his hard work to get up to the back of Grim Lilith all over again. Speaking about eating curbs, Austin, the Mercedes is mainly known for that, as Rafael is trying to make a move on the outside in turn 1, and it might well be the move. They leave each other the room, and there's Rafael on the inside, but that Ferrari does have the inside for the next 2 corners. It's an amazing battle here for P2 in the race. That Ford Mustang is awesome on the brakes there on the outside, but Rafael Hull now needs to find a little bit of a gap, perhaps on the inside. Oh, that's Joey Darbo braking maybe too early, and Rafael maybe knowing it, slowing down, but it's an incident for the top 3 cars, Austin.
No doubt that would be one potentially for penalty points as well. Depends on how it's viewed.
That's fair.
Rafael pulling to the side actually to let Dorber back through, which is the sporting thing to do. So Dorber hasn't quite yeeted his last whore. The Mustang will still eat curbs like hamburgers. I'm sorry. I mean, I had these puns lined up. I wanted to get them out somehow, but But at the same time, huge battle for P2, P3 going on right now, and what that's done essentially with slowing them both down has allowed Lilith to catch up. It's only 2.4 seconds separating Lilith and Raphael now as well. So with only 6 minutes to go, that's Raphael Hull potentially under yet more pressure. At least they know they can't make another mistake. Still 4/10 behind, 5 minutes to go. Still holding fastest lap of the race. I wonder if Podolski's just kind of backed off with that actually a little bit, because they don't really need to push too hard.
I was just about to say.
This is crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I was just about to say, you can see the both cars of RPMS Sim Sport as Rafael tries to do the exact same move again around the outside of turn 1, but thinks the better of it, and so he backs down just a little bit, tries to stay behind Joe Darber, but here are both RPMS Sim Sport cars. Will there be any team orders involved? Seems not to be. Martin Foster in the number 44 McLaren currently in front of Tom Shipston in the number 1660 BMW. And speaking about eating curbs, Austin, I wanted to talk about the Mercedes AMG GT3 because I only noticed it now, but there are really no Mercedes in the field. There is a Mercedes sign-up. Luis Villamas has a Mercedes sign-up on his name, but he has either signed out of the championship or signed out of this race in any case. So it's interesting that there have been really no competitive Mercedes car picked.
That's something I do like about this game, though, that the meta kind of ebbs and flows. You know, you never see the same cars used over and over again. You've got the fan favourites like the Porsche that return quite frequently. The Aston you see often return. The race going quite slowly there as well. Wonder if they were just involved in an incident. We have a race replay, and it looks like it's of their own volition, just dipping two wheels into the grass and causing a spin. Yes, so didn't get collected by anybody else. Didn't collect anybody else. Just purely on their own accord, so I'll send them into gravel. Rafael Huel again going back to the fight for P2, darting to the inside this time and trying to make use of the space there, but again not able to make anything of it. And there's only 4 minutes remaining, only into the dying stages of the race. And I don't want to say I can smell the desperation here a little bit, but at the same time, when P2 is on the cards, you gotta go for it, right?
Yes, he wants to go for it almost desperately. We saw a really creative move, but that move doesn't really work unless you completely besides to him and then go a little bit off throttle, surprise him, switch back almost 50 meters before the braking zone, and that's how you pull that move off. But Rafael Huel just too far behind, and so could not surprise Joe Darber for this lap. He might be able to surprise Joe Darber for the next lap because he's gaining, but that Ferrari is just too great in traction and cornering ability. I can see it almost everywhere that Ford Performance can gain in a straight anything he wants in the braking zones as well, but on traction and in cornering ability that Ferrari seems to have the upper hand. Marco Badowski, of course, 14.6 seconds ahead of the entire field in the Ferrari. I say the entire field, I must say ahead of P2. Buddy Mulder currently in P9, but what I would like to see is the battle for P2, maybe even for P6 as well, because Ted Edwards is now closing on John Dalton, as we can see in the foreground. Rafael Huel trying to surprise Joe Darber again. Ted Edwards on the outside. Austin, he can't make it quite yet.
No, that's just Ted Edwards too far behind. Rafael Huel actually darted to the inside there. Don't think they found a way around. You didn't see it on the broadcast.
I don't think so.
But Ted Edwards in the wash of Dalton's number 5 Porsche. Lilith has the opportunity now to kind of run away just a little bit. You can see that. I see that as the Ferrari is getting a bit more of a gap. But Edwards, again, much like Rafael, knows that this is the closing stages of the race and opportunities to overtake are starting to wear thin. So this is an opportunity into the braking zone down into the corner on the back straight, but back. Well, Rafael and the 10 have the same problem.
Yes.
That they need to utilize the car's straight line speed to actually line up and overtake, and that means planning in advance. That means getting out of the final corner and onto the banking. They need to optimize how much speed they're carrying to be able to make a move down into turn 1. That seems to be the best opportunity to overtake, especially if you cross to the outside, because then you have the inside into turn 2. Or if you can hang on the inside of turn 1 and hang on the outside of turn 2, then you've got the inside to turns 3 and 4. So it does seem to make sense. And speaking of launching onto the back straight, Rafael seems to have that speed, and look at how this gap is closing. And again, going for that outside line, so inside into turn 2, if they can keep it there, Fox, the door not quite there. And again, same thing for Ted Edwards, going onto the inside curve, a bit of
Oh,
contact with Dauber, but making the move stick.
yes, Ted Edwards indeed making a bit of contact, not backing down. Felt like he pushed John Dalton a bit too wide, but John Dalton might be able to come back. Oh, and that's an incident and
Oh,
it's a massive incident for the Porsche and the Aston Martin. Nicole Fox in P5 making a touche with that car. Could be a bit frustration on John Dalton's side, but this will definitely be investigated by the stewards, and so they throw away a P4, which will be given through Grim Lilith. Rafael Hull still in P3, and he can't quite seem to make the move on Joey Darby in the 777 Ferrari. Currently, with just a few corners to go, they will end their run. Who will end the second race again in P1 is Marco Badowski. An absolute dominant display by the German driver, and so he takes a well-deserved victory once again. 2 victories in a row. It's P1 again for Marco Badowski in race 2. Rafael Hull now in P3, trying everything. He has tried everything to Joe Darby, but couldn't quite make it. P2 for Joey Darby, P3 for the first Ford performance car. Lilith comes home in P4. Nicole Fox, silver victory driver, she claims another victory at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. John Dalton will come home in P9 with Ted Edwards in front of him in P8. Adam Carlisle in P10, Howling in P11, and this is a great finish for RPMS SimSport Austin.
It'd be really cool if they tried to actually finish like in a dead heat with each other,
Yes.
kind of very Ford GT at the at Le Mans. That would have been really fun to see. But I also understand, these guys are racing, and that's exactly what it's all about. Trevor Byford chases down Peter Vargo at the final closing corners as well. Here we are, another replay with Edwards and Dalton there. The first corner of the last lap. A little bit of rubbing, a little bit of a shoulder barge, and then obviously Dalton gets turned. Here's a replay of that. Could be a replay of that. No, it was Edwards that gets turned, and just get a bit too close.
Oh.
Fox getting very lucky, actually.
Yes.
Could have been a lot worse than it was, taken to the outside to try and avoid.
Yes.
But yeah, no. As you say, Dan, that's Badowski in first place. Second place, Dauber. Third, Rafael Hull. Grim Lilith P4, Nicole Fox P5, but silver class winner. Malcolm P6, Mulder P2 in silver class, but P7 overall. Edwards, Dalton, and Carlisle rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, and Howling in P11, Forster in P12, Tom Shipston. I did expect more of Tom Shipston. He's currently P4 in the overall championship with a 13th place. I don't think that is enough to keep that up. I want to give my compliments to Matt Malcolm, who I think qualified P11, and he retired from race 1. Now I think he finished in P6 overall, but it was a not so competitive overall class, a not so competitive pro class, purely because Marco Badowski won the race by 15.1 seconds. For Austin, it was a very chaotic and very competitive silver class.
It always is, and once again, Indianapolis does not disappoint. It's I like to think of it as one of the harder tracks. It's not very it's very technical in terms of elevation changes or anything like that, but at the same time, when it comes to racing, it feels like there's very little overtaking opportunities, and it really, really tests the driver as well. So, if you've enjoyed today, we obviously have more ongoing as well. Obviously, we're back again next week with the Wednesday Sprint Series, where we're at, I believe it's Donington Park. It's going to be a fun one. Always is, again, another great track to race on. World Tour is also, actually, Dan, why don't you explain what we've got coming up?
Well, we've got quite a lot coming up. We've got the Friday GT2 season starting next week in June 14th. As talked about, we've got the next big World Tour event in our 2024 season coming up on this weekend, 8th July. You can follow that on YouTube and on Twitch as well. So make sure to follow us on Twitch as well. The Team Jack versus Team V12 has ended, and that is really all that there is currently. We've got RCI has got a lot planned for the upcoming month, so stay tuned in our Discord. If you haven't already, go and become a member of our Discord to miss no updates. And if you fancy to be a part of this live streaming team as a broadcaster or commentator, because we do need those, we always need those, you can become that as well. And that's all really. There is Austin.
That is it. So again, Indianapolis, it's had a bit of everything. It's had messy races. We've seen some great moves. We've seen some less than great moves. The stewards are definitely going to be busy looking through these at the end, no doubt as well. So again, like other weeks, we kind of like other weeks, we've had a bit of everything. And I've just noticed in the Discord, we actually do have a few drivers apparently.
Yes. So they can definitely head in. I'll have the first one. Marco Dowski, if I'm not mistaken, the winner of our race, winner of both races. Marco, especially in the second race, it must be a bit boring up there.
Boring is the wrong word. Like, I was obviously trying to build a gap as quickly as possible, and I was lucky that Hüll and Dorber were fighting very hard. Like, I think at some point in the race, like I was more busy looking at the minimap than at the road itself. So, and it was quite a pleasant experience to lead the pack like comfortably for once.
Yes, because Sin, you haven't won a race this season of Sprint Championship on Wednesday. You have now 2 in a row. Almost no better way to do this. How do you feel about the championship now as well?
I think it was quite a crucial round. Know whether I still have chances in the championship or not, and I was quite lucky because the Ferrari got a huge buff at Indy. I think they lost like 50 kilos. And Indy also happens to be like by far my best track in all of ACC at this point. So like if it's not gonna happen at Indy with this combination, like it will never happen. So I'm glad that I'm back in the championship fight, and we'll see what I can do the next 2 rounds with tracks that should also like somewhat suit me.
All right. Well, like you said it, you had to do it, and you did it. My partner in crime, Austin Devonshire. Do you have any questions for Marco?
I mean, again, I think you asked the question I'd have asked it. Look from your perspective, but Marco, it looked like it was pretty plain sailing up front. I think I said at one point in the broadcast, it didn't look like you were really being challenged at all. It was just a case of running with the clear road ahead. I mean, is that something that you'd agree with?
I think I was challenged because I happened to have a Mustang next to me on the starting grid, which is like, depending on how long the run towards turn 1 is, it's like game over pretty much. So I had to be very brave on the brakes and hope the move would stick. But after that, like I was very lucky that like in both races on lap 1 and 2, Hüll and Dorber were fighting very hard, which gave me enough of a gap so I didn't have to look that much into my rear wing mirror.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Again, this is why you're in the car and we're in the boxes. I can't drive. Massive congratulations on the win, Marco. It was incredible.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Do you have anyone you'd like to shout out back at home, or?
Not really. Like my teammates, of course. So the usual people.
Awesome to hear. Also in the box, we also have Peter Varga. Obviously waiting for well. There we go. That's Peter Varga being brought into the box. I think we just interrupted a small conversation there to a point. Peter.
Yes, very rude, Austin.
So Peter, it looked like you got really caught up in the middle of the pack there, especially back towards the middle of the silver pack. How was that from your perspective? What do you have to say?
I prefer not to say. If I say anything, I'm in big trouble. So Not very nice words to all of you on the track. Was very questionable driving standards today. I feel like with every race is getting worse and worse. I'm hoping that people calm down a bit for next race. I know it's a sprint. I know we want to gain positions, but guys, you're not going to gain anything if you are pointing the wrong way at the end of lap one.
Racer,
Yeah,
I
but
think I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think I found the secret.
shut up, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely crazy from where we were sat. It was. I've already said this race has had a little bit of everything. But at the same time, yeah, it did look like you got caught into quite a bit of it. You know, that Mustang of yours didn't seem to stay in a straight line. It didn't seem to have a straight panel on it by the end. Actually, you can see it on the replay right now. But yeah, no, I mean, where where are we in terms of championship points? I think.
I believe I'm still third.
Yeah, it's still not too far off the bat. So, how are you
Well-
feeling about Donington next week?
Don't know. Donington is okay for me, but it's not. It can be different, very track for me. It can be good, it can be bad. It's like a neutral ground, nothing special. But the target remains the same as of today, not lose points to Tejera behind me and other cars that might be challenging for P3 in the standings. So, that's that.
Oh, looks like there's still a good opportunity there. Dan, do you have anything to say?
I do not. I do have anything to. I do have anything to ask. Do you want to give anybody at home, maybe, or your teammates a shout out?
No.
All right. Well,
Well,
that's
shout
that's
out
easy.
to one shout out, yeah, could do to Tejera. It was quite nice fighting today. He had to get really elbows out to keep the position, and I hope they enjoyed the fighting the same way I did.
all right. Well, that's very clear. Thank you, Peter. We hope to see you next time around again, and have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Next for our interview, we also have Adam Carlisle as well. So, rightly, that's actually a double podium for Carlisle in the silver class today. Adam, tell us about the race from your perspective.
Probably more luck than judgment. I think in the first race I got away with a motor car pile up in front of me, managed to avoid most of that, but I managed to have a good scrap with Varga, where I just managed to pull ahead of him. And then it's a case of trying to pull as much gap from them as much as possible. But yeah, so I was really pleased I got a result. It's good to be back after a couple of weeks break. Great to get a result. Second race is a bit more complicated, even though I got third and again the top 10, but because of the incident, what happened, I do have my own opinion on it, but then looking back, it's one of those, it's going to be at the mercy of RCI, and I do apologise for that in general. One of these things. But yeah, but aside from that, the car pace has been brilliant. The tyre wear has been fantastic. I seem to be having a knack of late race. The car holds the tyres well enough that I can keep pace with other drivers.
Always awesome to hear. Dan, do you have anything to add to that?
I do not. I want to congratulate you, Adam, with your double podium.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to also extend that congratulations from my side as well. And I suppose we just have to round off with, is there anyone at home you want to shout out?
Anyone's home to shout out? Yes, I'd like to shout out to, again, the rest of the streamers who've been streaming with me today. And also like to shout out to Varga for a great battle. It was very intense.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I definitely would love to have that again. But yeah, and I haven't got much else to say, to be honest. So thank you very much, guys.
Always, and thank you for joining us here tonight. Yeah, so where does that leave us at the end of end of us is this is round 4 of the Wednesday Championship. At the, Indianapolis is all said and done, but we've got Donington Park next week, which is again another track to always look forward to. Just down the road for me, in fact, in real life. Kind of a local track, and looking forward to bringing you action from that too. As Dan has said, go to the follow us on Twitter, go follow us on Twitch, go to the YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the bell, join the Discord, get involved, and just Dan, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that we have a very exciting last 2 races at Prospect, and I can't wait to see more, and I can't wait to see this championship battle unfold.
Yes, very, very close, and all is said and done. So a huge thank you to Stewie for being on cameras tonight. Absolutely incredible job. As with you, Dan, thank you for joining me in the box. Thank you to our partners who make this all possible, and most importantly, thank you to everyone at home for watching and giving us a show to actually for letting us actually put a show on and bring you guys this kind of content. So huge thank you to everyone involved, and we'll see you next week.